segue into the reason that we got to reconnect during quarantine. You called me and you had this genius idea, which is now come into fruition. Will you tell us what is ChorAmor? What's the definition of ChorAmor?
Well, I'll tell you, that idea started a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, when I
Okay.
wanted to create some resources that could be online and free for teachers. And it was difficult to get it started because there wasn't the impetus behind the action. You know, it was hard to get folks excited to do the work. I certainly had folks who were excited, but everybody's got a lot going on. And
So
now
this was a
suddenly
couple years ago. Like you wanted, because I remember you reached out and asked us for repertoire lists, and that was a great list you sent out when you did that a year or so ago. But this was
yeah.
something you've been working on?
So that was actually at that point a couple of years old, that project, and that was an attempt on my part to get you guys to to participate without necessarily knowing exactly what you were doing. But I think it worked really well. I got a few pieces for my own part, and I think you guys got some pieces out of that process. And for those who don't know, we were sharing repertoire ideas and some of our favorite pieces that we had found in the past 6 months. So that was going to be the original project, but once this all hit and our mutual friend Tesfa called me and said, you know, we need to do something. My ChorAmor, the idea initially was that I think the audio and video editing that we have to do in order to do asynchronous distance learning is actually much easier than people think, that it doesn't have to take 80 or 100 hours. It can be much simpler. And I could be a person to help show people simpler options for that process. And I think we're now, you know, here 2 months later, we're really starting to see that people are being creative, people are venturing out on their own. And I think the more practice they get, the more confident they're going to be. So the initial idea was we would provide training and resources for folks to learn how to do this on their own, and that it would be a free resource, that would be something that teachers don't have to pay for, because I think all of us know that budget is going to be critical for the fall, and
Yes.
that we are all facing a very steep learning curve in terms of how do we reach out to our singers while still being in some version of distance learning or hybrid.
Mm-hmm. We got asked that question yesterday in an email from our department chair. You had 4 options: traditional, hybrid, asynchronous, synchronous. And I'm like, I'm going to be a hybrid between this and that. And I'm
Yeah.
going to,
I'll take B, C, and D, please.
I'll take all
Yeah.
of the above, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
this makes sense. So now that I know kind of the things that were in your mind beforehand, what is ChorAmor developed into now? I know we have ChorAmor Mondays, there's trainings, there's performance opportunities,
Yeah.
what's the mission statement of this community? Or is it an organization, a community? What is it?
Well, I've called it a coalition,
Oh,
and that's, you know, a cooperative group of folks who are together to try to help each other. That's really the basic idea. So we're not a nonprofit. We're not a for-profit. This is not a business venture. This is just a bunch of folks who heard about this idea of, hey, let's pool our resources. It's not going to cost us anything except time and effort. And we can help people. We can help each other, because many of the folks involved who are in leadership, and I think many people in our profession would look to and say, oh my gosh, they must know everything about this. Actually know almost nothing, because this is brand new territory for almost everyone. So it's not just super duper experts. It's also folks who are expert at some of the things we value the most, but are total beginners at some of the things that are needed right this minute.
so who is all a part of the ChorAmor coalition right now? Who are the different participants?
Well, it's really wide open. It's pretty democratic in terms of who wants to do what. So I sort of see 3 main areas of participation. One is folks can sign up just to become a member and keep up with what we're doing, come to trainings, look at our resources. You have access to everything, but just kind of come and see what's up. And then if folks feel like they have something more to offer, they can be an advisor, is the term we chose. And that's somebody who has some expertise or has some time and wants to put in some effort to contribute to one of the projects we have going. And as you said, there are now 10 or 12 fronts where we're trying to help people. And then there's also singers, folks who want to come in and sing. Of course, for many people, the most important element of singing is that they learn the process. But I think it's also going to be exciting for people to see how creative we can be together. So right this minute, for example, Tucker Biddlecombe from Vanderbilt is leading Leah Garland Pearsall as a tribute to first responders and healthcare workers. That's going to come together on Monday. I'm helping to put together "O Sing Joyfully" by Batten, which is kind of serves two purposes. One is just to sing together. The other is that because that's public domain and something that people can just grab onto, it's going to be a resource for the future. So the XML file, the PDF, all the guide tracks, some of our vocal and video tracks will be placed into a shared folder so that people can use that as they're trying to learn how to edit and trying to learn how
Yes.
to create their own projects for their classrooms. Um,
So
and of
learn
course,
by
that's
doing, like you're letting people who want to, either advisors or members or anyone, you're getting the opportunity to not just learn by doing one of them, but also having those tangible resources after you've done it.
exactly. That's one of the wilder things that I don't think folks have quite figured out yet, which is that because we're working asynchronously, you don't have to come to my choir to work with my choir in terms of one of these sort of finished artifact products. It's all right there. All the raw files are there. You can start working right now to figure out how can I do this with my singers. And one of the points I've tried to drive home again and again and again is that this is the same thing we tell our singers. This is all just practice. And so they need to get into the files, get their hands dirty, spend a few hours in practice. And if they, especially I think if they come to one of the trainings and they see how we do things, they'll realize, oh wait, it doesn't have to be perfect. I just need to figure out how to create the product for now, and then I'll begin to polish as I slowly learn what this is all about.
So while
And I
you're
have no doubt they'll do great things.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait. Some of these pieces you guys have put together are just, they're stunning. And what's so interesting as someone who's had access to the singing files is all the details that you've put in there for me as a singer and as a conductor to look at your files and to look at the PDFs as well as the recordings, and where it's so clear where the cutoff is and there this message of voce is. It's forced me to really practice on the details in a time when I've just been trying to hunker things out. This has been a fantastic change. But I think you said something really impactful here. You can come to the trainings, which we'll talk about more in a moment, but at the same time, you're in the process of what those things that you created the trainings on were making. It's very cyclical, interrelated, interconnected. It's fascinating to hear.
Yeah, well, and you can work to the level you're capable. So, for example, if you don't have any resources except your own computer, and let's say your computer's not super powerful, you can work to the level you're able. And let's say, you've got an older computer, you've only got free software. One of the really fun processes you can engage with that takes advantage of a situation like that is what I would call kind of recursion, where instead of I'm going to mix down 40 videos, I know what my grid needs to look like in the final product, so I'll mix down 4 at a time, and then I'll mix down those 4. And so you can kind of engage in a recursion sort of a process, so you're not engaging so much computing power. And you can imagine how the same thing would work with audio.
Mm-hmm.
My computer can't handle 80 tracks, so instead I'm going to deal first with the sopranos, and so I'll hear those 20 singers at once, and my computer can handle that. And I'll work in Audacity since I don't have the money to pay for Logic.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many options that are available once teachers and conductors have the raw files to work with. They can start experimenting on their own, and
So
I do think that's one of the most exciting parts of what we're doing.
the experimentation and creativity. So that's the singing performance side of ChorAmor. And you've touched on the training side. So right now, what are some of the trainings that you can participate in at through the ChorAmor Coalition?
Yeah, this has turned out to be probably the biggest point of interest for folks. Is on Mondays we have kind of a little town hall, a little meeting where we get together and talk, and that's been a lot of fun. We've
It's
had
totally my favorite thing. I feel like I have
yeah.
this whole huge office staff of friends, and then we leave so motivated anyway.
Well, and it's just some of the absolute best people in the world. So it's really fun to get in and listen to people's ideas. So that's for about an hour on Mondays. I try to keep people's time sacred and not spend more than we say. And then the rest of the week, I've divided the training up into 3 main chunks. The first being scores and guide tracks, so notation. And these trainings are a time when people can ask as many questions as they want, but they can also see me go through the process, both with a Google Slides presentation that they have access to on their own. So they get the link for the Google Slides, so they'll see everything I'm doing. But then I'm also actually physically doing not physically, but I'm electronically doing the process as well. So they can see me going through it in front of them. So scores and guide tracks is the first one, kind of the first step in the process. Audio mixing and mastering, and then video editing is the third one. And I don't claim to be by any means an expert in any of those. I'm not a a sound engineer or a video engineer. But I do have enough experience to put together, I think, some pretty good products and stuff that I think certainly my choir has been excited to see, and that's all we really want, right? It's just something that's
Mm-hmm.
good enough for folks to feel like they're participating, they're part of a continuing community, that they're proud of what they're doing. And then, of course, the thing that we've realized as we've gone along, all of us who are trying to do this, is that, oh, these are actually resources for our rehearsal now. And so we
Yes.
have, yeah, yeah, we have two options. We can continue to rehearse using what we've already done and make it even better. And we can also iterate. So we can say, all right, this first take was pretty good, but Jim, you're cutting off, half a beat late almost every single time. Will you please put the content where it goes? We can do the same kind of feedback we've done in the past, except our feedback and assessment is even more robust because we can hear every single singer
Right.
and have access to what they're doing. So far from the fear I heard expressed many times, which is that we're going to sort of wallpaper over all the problems of our choral singers and not teach them. Far from that, we're actually we have even more powerful tools to go in and really hear what they're doing.
Yes. And you're demonstrating good teaching strategies that we can all remember or get excited about. You said using Google Slides. That's a shareable, easy to use program. It's free. And while you're doing that, you're also demonstrating and using screen share. So people who are participating in the training are not just learning the skills for how to use these tools to teach choir virtually, but they're
Mhm.
also learning some good teaching strategies.
Yeah, and,
So,
and the physical process of that is I think teachers are gonna slowly realize what those best practices are. So for right now, for example, this is the same setup I had last night with my choir where I'm talking to you, my phone is the camera, but I actually have a second screen available right underneath you where I can actually go to the Google Slides and then underneath, and so I can share my screen to show the slides, yet they'll still be able to see me. And then I'm gonna click it on here in a second. Here is
yes.
I also have, it's coming.
Oh, you have a keyboard.
Hey, yeah.
Yes.
So I have my big fancy keyboard also right underneath, and so I can do several different modes all at once. And you know, it seems strange to say, but one of the things that's been the most handy is not only being able to switch from those modes live, but also because you're working on video anyway, it's really helpful to me to pre-record chunks of rehearsal and then to be present. So I'm still there in a different screen, but then to have the sound happening somewhere else so that I can help the singers during the process. And my brain could sort of be divided into half, almost like I have an
Hmm.
accompanist. So
That so you're almost like you're cloning yourself, but you're using the tools and technology. And so because you found these innovative ways, you're able to, through the coalition of ChorAmor, get it out to other people who are looking for ideas and ways to best rehearse.
yeah, right.
Fantastic. Okay, so there's performance opportunities, there's training opportunities. Talk a little bit more about the resources. You said a little bit about the repertoire resource, but what are some of the current projects that the ChorAmor Coalition are working on resource wise?
So some of the things that are taking a little more time to come together, but I think are going to be really powerful, are we have some advocacy resources that folks have been interested in because I think they felt like they needed to start advocating for their jobs right this minute
Mm-hmm.
and for what it is that we do. Um, the second sort of prong is under methods. There's a lot of strong demand for what are some of the best practices and what are some of the creative methods that we can use, but I think it's important that they're presented in a way such that folks can transfer easily from one developmental level to another, or they can transfer from one time frame to another, from one delivery method to another. And so my focus is on creating a spreadsheet that I can just share with them, but that is concise and searchable and sortable, so that everybody can go right to the spot they need. And so we're in the process of putting that together. Lauren Ramey, who's at Florida State, Aaron Millard, and Dr. Sandy Babb are all sort of helping with that process. Another resource we're working on is Dr. Alan Zabriskie at Texas Tech has offered to head up, actually I think Janet Galvan is going to help him, head up a project that's going to collect safety guidelines, because one of the things I didn't realize as being part of a huge university system is many people have been left totally out in the cold as to what they need to do if they should have to do some kind of hybrid method where they are in person, but they have social distancing, they have screens. They don't know. They really don't have any idea because there's not good guidance. And as you and I both know, some of the information that's out there right now is incomplete or evolving. And so it's very
Mm-hmm.
difficult to make good decisions on your own. And so you feel a sense of responsibility for your singer's safety, but also liability, of course. And so we're going to be a pass through for some of that information from some of these bigger organizations. I'm trying to think if there is anything. Well, and then of course I mentioned to you the files that we're creating
Mm-hmm.
that are going to be examples for guide tracks, for scores, for singer videos
Mm-hmm.
and audio. There's just a lot of that kind of thing that's going to be there by the time the summer is over for teachers to be able to start. And my hope is that we'll have everything from excellent projects for 6th grade treble choirs to things for your church choir with 10 people in it. So
What I love about these, when we have the conversations about these projects on Monday, you can tell people have been working out on their own in their different little areas, but these resources are crowdsourced, yet not peer reviewed because that's so formal and academic, but they're reviewed. There's someone looking over them to make sure that they make sense, that there aren't a million duplicates, and then people are putting in the time to make them searchable, which when,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say we have amazing people who are part of this coalition. I mean, we have some of the best people in our in our profession
Yes.
who are helping. Yeah,
Sitting in those
including
ChorAmor
you.
Mondays.
So.
Well, you are sweet and kind. I want to say the reason I got the most excited, we talked that first time you called, and I was excited from the second you said the idea, because I was at that point of quarantine where there was a Facebook group for this and a Facebook group for that, and this person was hosting that Zoom and that person was hosting that Zoom, and I felt like I couldn't get all the plates spinning at the same speed. And so you said the idea is that everyone's doing those things, but this is one place where it can come together and be shared out. So you don't have to worry about finding that one post on that one Facebook page that you saw 2 months ago that you need now. And that
Right.
organizational factor of it's why I love helping you with the newsletter, because I get to see what all is out there and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And you're highlighting what all these different people are doing, because we're all in the same umbrella. No one's trying to play the one up game. We're all just a big coalition, a big community family that are trying to put everything in one spot.
Absolutely. And so you bring to mind a couple of things that folks are working on. I know Derek Fox is working on a database of methods. And so we've actually shared that via our newsletter several times now to try to make sure folks are aware of that. I was talking to you this morning about Kathleen Hansen, who I don't know, but has put together an amazing virtual choir guide. And I say amazing because she's done a lot of work background for different software options, how much those options cost. I mean, she really has great detail in there. And so in addition to doing our own work to compile that information in a way that makes sense under sort of ChorAmor, we're also linking out to those folks' efforts and making sure to sort of broadcast that, hey, these are opportunities that are available if you're looking for something. I know it can look overwhelming and exhausting to see all of those links. And so we do want to try to create a repository that's a little more concise, but at the same time, it's a great chance to trumpet what other people are doing.
And so we have right now the weekly newsletter and the ChorAmor Mondays, and I'll make sure I put in the episode notes how to get involved, how to sign up to get on the forum so you can get invited to the Zoom of these Mondays. They're super informal. There's new people there every week. So it's so amazing to see new faces I'd never met, but we're all coming under the same idea. I think I'll also link to that really great page you made with the mission and the vision of ChorAmor, because I know it'll eventually be a website, right?
Yeah, that website's getting closer every day. I'm actually supposed to talk to my guy, Andrew Pitts, who's a friend of mine. He's an English teacher in North Carolina. And so he's helping me put together the the website. And so we are getting closer. It just takes time because Andrew, he's an English teacher. And so he needs me to tell him, like, this is actually what's supposed to be on the
Yeah, well,
website. So
as soon as
it
it's
takes time to put it
there,
together.
I can put that, I can edit the episode notes later. I do want to
Yeah.
ask a few quick fire questions that I've been asked from people as I have shared ChorAmor in different settings, either in comments or conversations. So the first question I got asked was, is ChorAmor trying to be another branch of ACDA?
Oh, wow.
I know, I got asked that
Well,
question.
no,
No.
definitely not. And I can tell you how you can. Here's how you can tell: the president and president-elect are a part of the organization.
Yes,
So I
fair,
know.
listeners.
Yeah, I think they're pretty clear on what our mission is, and I'm doing work on their behalf right now, actually. So no, we are totally. I mean, I am one of the rare folks who got in time to be what's called a life member of ACDA, which means I paid all my dues. I finished paying ACDA dues 15 years ago. So I am fully committed to ACDA and a big fan of ACDA. I think that some of the criticism that ACDA has come under is maybe a little bit unfair. This is a really difficult time, and so there are going to be some missteps here and there. But no, I'm very committed to being an ACDA member.
Yeah, good. My answer was this isn't an organization. It's more of a, hey, let's
These
get
are friends.
together.
These are friends.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
staff meeting. Like that was my favorite part
Yeah.
about that first Monday. I feel like we so often live on an island. And yes, we have conferences to go to and different types of events that we can go to, but it feels like with this ChorAmor Monday thing that we have a staff meeting to start our week off right. And there's so many
Yeah.
organizations out there that do Monday morning calls, or like my husband has 7:30 a.m. meetings every day to kick off the day. I'm like, I
Yeah.
want that. I want someone to be like, yes, we're doing great things. Go.
Well, and we're trying to be kind to our West Coast friends, of whom there are many, and we're starting at 9 a.m. Pacific. So we're trying to be really
Yes.
generous about that.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, West Coasters, but it is nice to see we have people from California, and it's just such a fun way to bring together. So, okay, we answered the first question. No, it is not an organization. It is
Definitely not.
just,
We're not collecting dues. Yeah.
no
Yeah.
dues. It's
Yeah.
free, and it's just a community of people that have like shared visions. Okay, second
Yes.
question. What's the big goal in the end?
What's the big goal? Well, I think the main goal for me was to let people know, by giving them the opportunity to do something, that they don't need to be afraid, that they can they can do this, they can do this if they practice, and I'll help as much as I can. And not only that, but I know lots of brilliant people who will all come together to help, because there was, I think, a lot of fear in those early days. I think there still is a lot of fear. There were a lot of people who had not yet come to terms with the reality that was bearing down on them. I think there are still a lot of those folks who haven't yet realized how difficult it's likely to be in the next few months. And so my whole goal here was to give people some comfort, to give them some options, and to show them that they can definitely do this, that this is not impossible.
Okay, these are yes or no questions. Are you ready?
All right, I'm ready.
I am a church choir member and I really just like to sing. Can I join ChorAmor and only participate in the performance opportunities?
Yes.
I am an elementary school teacher and I have a third and fourth grade choir. Is there anything at ChorAmor for me?
Yes.
These are too easy. So, as you can see, it spans the gauntlet because I know we have people in church choir, we have people in high school choir, middle school choir, collegiate choir. We have a few elementary people out there as well.
Mhm.
Is there, I mean, I love that the fact that I've told a couple of my church choir friends, if you're, because they're missing singing,
Yeah.
that this is an opportunity. They can do a singing opportunity every week almost. There's just so many. Oh, you have to talk
Multiple per
about,
week.
you have to talk about the new music project.
Oh, right. Yes.
That's the
So I'm so excited about
coolest.
this. Yeah. So Lori Betts Hughes was probably the first person who got really excited about this. And then I talked to Chris Harris, who is also very excited. And then another former student of mine and friend, Miggy Torres. And so these are the three composers who are most excited right this minute. But then Tucker Biddlecombe said he's interested in writing, and Tesfa Wanamaniu is excited about writing. And of course, I love to write music. And so the idea here is that this would be not necessarily small, but just it would be a nimble group that comes together and does a piece once every week or two, depending on how difficult. And so our first piece that we're going to do is by Chris Harris. He and I are still nailing down which one. He gave me actually 4 options.
Whoa.
And so, yeah, and so this is not necessarily to build resources. This is actually a service to the composer, because we're going to create a recording. But it's also just a fun opportunity to perform and experience some new, really high quality music.
So that can go under the performance opportunity, but you're also now touching in the composer world in
Yeah.
providing an opportunity for composing new works and new pieces. I know Michael John Trotta just did a little webinar on how he created his massive voice premiere of a piece. And he said it started with, we had a commission and we needed the product, and this was the only way with which to do it. So
Yeah,
that's a
and actually,
great.
I have that scenario this spring with one of the pieces I did. It was like the performance was good, it was solid, but it wasn't the kind of thing I'd want to have online as the example recording necessarily. And so I'm hoping we can generate a good recording here.
That's so cool. Okay, so you're meeting composers and other teachers and conductors at all different levels. You mentioned you have the president and the president-elect of ACDA involved, and that you're doing some projects for the executive council at ACDA. It's been a really cool thing to see, kind of not snowball, because I think snowball has a negative connotation, but to see it kind of gel into a thing. I look so forward to my weeks now because I feel like I'm part of a thing. I'm part of a community that's all positive and going in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think one of our mentors says that transitions are always hardest. And so this is a difficult moment for everybody in our profession. but it's summertime, and so most of us have a little bit of time to adjust. We have a little bit of time to take a step back and see what's coming. Not only that, but one of the things we've said from the beginning is that this is just fun, and it's a good learning
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. Dr. Judy Bowers has said that repeatedly. These are just good skills to have. Speaking about this that we're doing, actually,
Mm-hmm.
she's involved and she's excited about it, and so these are just good, fun skills to have. They're going to make us better musicians and better educators. So I'm not worried about the effort. I think it's going to be a good one.
No, it's fun. I'm glad I have some projects to work on over the summer. So if people listening want to check out ChorAmor before your website's ready, how can they find out more? Where can they find you?
The two easiest ways are to email me, troy@choramor.com. So that's TROY at CHORAMOR.com. So they can email me directly at troy@choramor.com, or they can search for us on Facebook. If you just search ChorAmor, that's a way to find us. And then very soon, choramor.com is actually already up. It's password protected right now because we're not live, but choramor.com should be up in the next week or two. And I think people are going to be excited about how quickly and easily they can find ways to get to information that they need, and then also to get involved. So that'll be coming real soon.
Where did the name come from?
Well, it's a neologism, which means that which means that nobody had claimed it. So I knew I could get www.choramor.com back 3 or 4 years ago when I was thinking about this, and so that was the reason for making up the word. And then of course the thought was like choral music, and then amor, love. So this is for the love of choral music.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay, before we go, is there anything else you want to tell our listeners related to ChorAmor or not? You are, y'all, if you don't know Troy, he has the best conversations. We can talk for hours and hours and hours. So I have no doubt whatever you are about to say is worth listening to. What
Oh
would you
no,
like to say?
what a setup. Okay, here we go. Here's deep wisdom. No, I mean, the main thing I'm trying to get across to people is that they don't need to be afraid of this technology, that it's just a matter of putting in the time. There's a lot of misinformation out there as to how much time this takes and how much it costs. And the fact of the matter is that you have options, and that there's something to suit your needs, whatever those are, in terms of your resources, in terms of the time you have available to commit. A lot of folks are concerned because they're older, and I would just say we have folks in this group who are well above 70, who are having success and really enjoying the process. So wherever you are in the process, if you've just learned about this, if you've been doing audio editing, video editing, I think there's something for you either to contribute or to learn. And that's the first step toward not being quite so anxious.
Perfect. Don't be anxious. Get a cool friend group like ChorAmor.
Oh man, the absolute best friend group. That's
Best friend group. I feel
yeah.
like all of a sudden I now have like 500 brand new friends. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, thank you for all your work on this. It really is exactly the positive light we need right now.
Well, thank you for being part of it. You are definitely contributing a lot. So I appreciate you.
Well, I am honored. I would like to say that I'm really good at ending these, but alas, we get to the end and I don't know what to do. So thanks for being here. Thanks for your time.
It's really great to see you and talk to you.
All right.
Hey, by the way, it's an honor to be on your podcast. I listened to your first several episodes and can't wait to hear what's coming. I know there's exciting things.
Thank you. Okay, we will end on that note.